Hello and welcome to Motor Week, and on today's programme, remember the Vauxhall Nova? Now of course it's known as the Corsa, but it was always called the Corsa in many countries, and that's because many people speak Spanish, and to a Spaniard, Nova means no go. Not a good name, but it was all systems go for the new Vauxhall Corsa, which Chris Goffey has been driving, and Vauxhall have high hopes that it'll repeat the enormous success of its predecessor. But first this week I've been off pretending I'm a millionaire and agonising over deciding which Porsche to buy. So, you've gone without beer and nights out for about 250 years and you've saved up about £30,000 for your dream car. You want a Porsche. What do? Do you go straight out and buy this? Your 30 grand will get you the basic Boxster, or do you be a bit more patient, wait another 50 years without beer and nights out and save up 36 and a bit thousand pounds for the Boxster S? Well, let's find out. There you go, little piggy. Settle in. Now, don't be a snob and dismiss this out of hand just because it is the entry level. Sure, it's the basic Porsche, but it is still a Porsche. And don't forget, it was upped. When they introduced the S last year, they actually upped the power output of this by about 20 brake horsepower and, more significantly, lowered the price by about 3 grand. So you've decided you can't wait a moment longer. You've got to blow your 31 grand and buy yourself the basic Boxster. What do you get? Is there actually a bargain Porsche? Well, don't forget, we are talking prestige marque here, so I think value for money is probably a better phrase. You get a reasonably powerful engine. There's not a lot there at low revs, but as soon as you get up to high, sort of 5.5 to 7,000 RPM, it starts to work quite hard, and more importantly, it sounds gorgeous, snarling away just behind my left ear. One thing it does that I particularly admire in any car is it's willing to flog itself to death. It'll rev and rev and rev. I think the closest thing to that was Dick Turpin's horse did something similar. I like a car that'll willingly rip itself to bits if you ask it to. Not that I will. It's still quite expensive. In case you're wondering about those all-important figures, by the way, 0 to 60 comes up in about the 6-second mark. Top speed, if you're feeling completely balmy on the Autobahn, about 140 miles an hour. Thank you very much. So, where are we in our quest to find out whether this is just a budget Porsche or whether it really is something of a performance bargain? Well, sure, it's got nothing on a 911, but then what do you expect? It's about half the price. And if it had been around 5 years ago, what would the competition have been? Well, just the Mazda MX-5. That was about the only other roadster. But now it's a very different story. There's plenty in the same kind of league as the Boxster. We've got the Audi TT Roadster, the BMW M Roadster, the Honda S2000. There's tons of them, stiff competition. This has got to be good. And this is where we may have been a little bit misleading, because this is what the trade refer to as a Christmas tree. It's a car with everything on it. It's had traction control added, those extra large alloys, electric seats and a fancy stereo. And let's be honest, when you buy a Porsche, very few people just buy the Porsche. They buy all the bits that go on it. If you bought all of these, well, you'd be spending more or less as much on your standard Boxster as you would to get a Boxster S. If it really was me who'd saved 30,000 for a Porsche, I think I'd hang on, save the extra 6 and buy the Boxster S. No, I wouldn't. Who am I trying to kid? Not in a million years. If I had 30,000 and I was itching to buy a Porsche, I'd buy a Porsche straight away. Ultimately though, whatever you decide, it's always going to have one thing that none of the others have got, and that really only that amount of money can buy, and that's the badge. And that is special.
In spite of constant speculation over prices of cars in the UK, one fact remains, and that is if you want to save yourself thousands of pounds, you've got to shop on the continent. And that's exactly what we're going to be showing you how to do. We'll be arming you with all the facts and the figures that you need to go and save yourself thousands of pounds on your next new car. We'll be shopping for 3 of the UK's most popular new cars, a Ford Focus, a BMW 3 Series and one of these, a Volkswagen Golf. you need to sit down, you need to take your time, and you need to make some phone calls. First one should be to the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency, the DVLA, the telephone number we've got below us on the screen right now, and they will send you an information pack on how to import a car. Not only will it include useful facts, but it will also have all the forms that you'll need to fill out once you've got your car and you need to register it back in the UK. In addition to the DVLA, you're going to need to call your local VAT office. We're listing the number below for the London region. They also will send you an information pack and some more forms that are going to need to be filled in once you get home and where you're going to need to pay your VAT on return to the UK. Don't worry about the paperwork though, we'll take you through that step by step later in the programme. Before you phone a dealer, you need to be 100% certain of the car you're going to ask for. Now, in Europe, quite often the specifications differ from that in the UK, so whereas you might have deadlocks as standard on a Focus over here, you might not get them in, say, France or Belgium. So you've got to make sure that the car that you order has all the kit on it that you would expect to find in the UK. So now it's time to hit the phone. Hello, do you speak English?
Yes, I do, sir.
Oh, I wonder if you could help. I'd like to talk to somebody about buying a right-hand drive Ford Focus.
That is no problem. Is there a possibility for you, sir, to send me either a fax or an email?
There is, yes. Is there a possibility that you could just tell me what the prices are first? It's a Focus 1.6 LX 5-door.
No additional options, or?
Well, I need the car to full UK specification.
Well, the cars that we're selling are full UK specs, miles per hour, everything. LX comes with air conditioning anyway.
Okay, that's superb.
So the total price of the car, 513,462. No problem.
There, that shows just how easy it can be to talk to foreign dealers. We've saved thousands of pounds off the UK list price of a Ford Focus, and he even threw in a 5% discount without us having to haggle. Now, there are two things that you should always remember. Firstly, get everything confirmed in writing over the fax. That's very important and you can rely on that at a later date. Secondly, remember it's full UK specification that you're asking about. Now you've got two choices if you want to go ahead and place an order. You can either do it over the phone with a credit card, again getting everything confirmed in writing, or secondly, you can do what we're going to do, go and visit the dealers yourself. Welcome to the Eurotunnel terminal in Folkestone. We're off to see some foreign dealers. But remember, if you don't want to go and visit the dealers yourself, there are a couple of options. Firstly, you can do the deal yourself over the phone, remembering to get confirmation on the fax. Or you can even use a broker. But bear in mind, with the number of brokers out there, that they're always after a percentage of the deal. And that's some profit that you well could have in your pocket. So, we're off to see the dealers. Our first port of call here in Belgium is in Royle. We're just an hour-and-a-half's drive away from the Channel Tunnel terminal in Calais, and this is the local Volkswagen dealership. Already the signs are very, very good. There are two right-hand drive Volkswagen Golfs sitting here waiting to be delivered to their new owners from the UK. So let's go inside and see what sort of deals we can get. So the model I want is the 1.6 S in the UK. So I want to make sure that all the bits, the electric windows, the security system.
So that he is UK specified.
Exactly.
Okay, that's not a problem.
That really is sensational. Volkswagen Golf 1.6 S. If you buy it in the UK, it'll cost you £20 shy of £14,000. But buy it from here in Belgium, it'll cost you just a little bit over £11,000, a saving of nearly £3,000. Now, I'm in the mood for a bargain. Let's go and see what I can get off our BMW 318i.
You take the car itself and add on a few extras, because they're missing on a Belgium car.
Right.
So you will have to add on the right-hand drive equipment to get the steering wheel on the right side.
Yep. That's another £3,000 we've just saved on a full UK specification right-hand drive BMW 318i. Now it's reassuring to know that some other Brits have been to this dealership before, because sitting here waiting for delivery to some lucky customer is a right-hand drive BMW 328i, which would have saved them even more cash. Our final visit is here in Ostend, less than an hour away from the Channel Tunnel terminal. We're here at Garage Delta, and this time we're going to be shopping for a Ford Focus. Hello there, do you speak English?
Yes, I do, sir.
You do? Great. And one, if you can help. I'm after buying a Ford Focus. Can you help with that?
That is no problem at all.
Great.
Perhaps I can show you a few cars,
Yep,
which
superb.
we have over here, waiting to be delivered.
Do you deliver many Focuses to British customers?
Yes, we do, sir. For instance, here you have all our right-hand drive cars waiting to be delivered for tomorrow. As you see, we have Pumas, we have KA, we have Galaxy, but as I understood, you were more interested in Focus.
That's right. These are all right-hand drive specifications. The customers are coming to pick them up from here?
Exactly. Full UK specification cars. For instance, here you have a 1.6 Focus, it's a Ghia. This one, so you see it has exactly the same specs as in the UK. Miles per hour speedometer, the wood, dashboard, headlights.
Good.
Everything is exactly the same as you should buy it in the UK.
We've saved over £4,500 off the UK list price of a Ford Focus. In just one day, we've shopped for 3 of the UK's best-selling cars and saved over £10,000. It really would be rude to ignore those sort of savings. So this is it, great, I've got my car and I'm on the way home. But there are a few things that I had to sort out before I actually left the dealership. Firstly, number plates. I've had to fit transit plates to this car to get me from the dealership back to the UK. But you have to organise the transit plates in advance, and in many cases, as we've seen, the dealer will help you do that. The other most important thing is to make sure that you're insured on the way home. You don't want any bumps to upset your new motor, so you've got to make sure that you have insurance coverage from the moment you drive off the dealer forecourt. Now, most insurers will do that for you, but there will be a small charge, so you need to make sure that you are fully covered before you drive off. The final thing that you need to be aware of is that on your way home, pick up as many petrol receipts, hotel bills, even restaurant bills if you can, just to prove that you have driven the car home. In order to import the car as a personal import, you need to be able to prove that you have driven the car on the continent before you get it back to the UK. Right, now that I'm home, I've got to arrange to change those number plates for these ones. You can now register your car with the DVLA before you pay the VAT. So in your DVLA information pack, you should be looking for this form, V555. You will need to take this to your local registration office, along with your certificate of conformity, the original invoice, an insurance document proving that the car was insured prior to coming to the UK, and your new current UK insurance documentation. And for the car to count as a personal import, it must have been used on the continent, and you will be required to show ferry tickets and receipts for hotels and petrol to prove it. Finally, you have to pay road tax and a £25 registration fee. When you send your form to your local VAT office, it's important you include the original purchase invoice, the foreign registration document, and any proof you have of the car's date of entry into the UK. A ferry ticket is usually adequate evidence of this. Then, when calculating how much you owe, Customs and Excise will convert the invoice price of the car into sterling based on the exchange rate on the day it entered the UK.
Coming up after the break, Chris Goffey checks out the very small car that Vauxhall have enormous hopes for.
This has to be the most eco-friendly car launch I've ever been on. The hotel provides the bicycles, and Vauxhall brought us here to the launch hotel on the train. What are they trying to say about the future of the private car? Anyway, in 1983, Vauxhall and General Motors launched the first Corsa, or Nova as it was known in the UK. It was a name that was only used in the UK because, of course, Nova wouldn't go down very well in Spain. No-go. Certainly wasn't a no-go in terms of sales though. 9 million examples sold so far. And this is the latest incarnation of Corsa. Vauxhall built the new Corsa in just 32 months from the clean sheet of paper. And that shows how fast they're getting in this business, almost up to Japanese standards of changing the model range. This is the 1.8 litre SRI that Vauxhall say won't be available until next spring. It'll be available for the first time in an SRI in 5-door form. Does that signify Vauxhall very slightly moving away from the sporty image of the SRI? Nevertheless, it's still quite a quick little car, 125 brake horsepower, 0 to 60, 8 seconds, and a maximum speed of 126. That should keep the lads happy. With its wide track and square stance on the road, you'd expect handling and road holding to be good. Corsa doesn't disappoint. In this SRI, Royle is well controlled, though the ride can get a bit choppy. And at high speed on an admittedly pretty rough Belgium auto route, the car could develop a rhythmic pitching movement which felt very strange. But then you're not allowed to go more than 70 on a British road, are you? And the higher performance versions have what Vauxhall call dynamic safety, designed not to let you become too much of a hooligan and get the car out of shape. Inside there's much more room, as you'd expect from the lengthened wheelbase. There's very good elbow, shoulder, leg and even headroom in the new car. The interior trim really depends on your point of view. It's very tastefully done in different degrees of grey, but the overall effect is somewhat sober. It's not a lively looking car from the inside. Given their due, Vauxhall have tried very hard with the launch of the new Corsa. They brought us here to this superb mansion in Maastricht, beautiful grounds dotted with works of art. This is Opal Your Eye by Veronique Sabin. But given the artistic look of the launch, why has new Corsa appeared so small c conservative? After all, Ford took a big gamble with the look of the Focus, the Puma, the Cougar, exciting, innovative lines. Given a clean sheet of paper, I'm slightly disappointed that Vauxhall weren't braver, a bit more innovative, a bit more opal your eye.
Facelifts are nothing new in the motor industry, as old models are pepped up to square up to newer opposition. In the Super Mini class at the moment is awash with mid-term facelifts, including Ford's new Fiesta. Ford's little hatch is undergoing its second mid-term nip and tuck, so we've brought along Seat's new Ibiza to see whether Ford have done enough to stave off the latest challenger. Well, the immediate answer is no. To be honest, the Fiesta is getting a bit long in the tooth now, and the new face is only marginally better than the outgoing model. The sides and the rear have been left largely unchanged because to do anything more would involve major tooling changes, which Ford wouldn't want to do at this stage of the model's lifespan. Contrast that with the Ibiza, which gets a much more comprehensive facelift and altogether looks more attractive. The new family face following the lead set by the Toledo creates a fun and perky image. In here you can see signs of the VW Group's influence into Seat's design. The dash gets a soft-to-the-touch feel. There's a useful tray for putting coins and business cards in, and the heating and ventilation controls reek of German efficiency. But you can also see the Spanish influence with some annoying little bits and bobs. And look at this, it must actually be harder to fit manual wing mirror adjusters to cars these days rather than electric ones. A whole load of rods inside the cars rather than just wires. And if you need to adjust the passenger side mirror, you have to lean across to make that adjustment. Now surely we can expect better these days. Interior space inside the Ibiza is fine too. The seats are VW firm but orthopedically sound. Rear space is okay for small passengers, even on long journeys. And here is where the Fiesta really starts to show its age. The whole Super Mini class has actually moved on and rather left the Fiesta behind, because space back here is really at a premium, and I wouldn't want to spend too long on a journey back there. Now, up front you get pretty well the same fascia as before, which to be honest is no bad thing. It's very curvy and looks more attractive than the Ibiza does. When you go to tap the dash though, it all goes horribly wrong because it's rock-hard plastic. It seems a shame that Ford seem to be using the same suppliers as Daewoo for their plastic, which is not nice. Things really pick up out on the road in the Fiesta. This 1.4 engine is very peppy and zips along at a nice old rate. The chassis is well set up and just adds to the enjoyment. You could certainly enjoy a cross-country dash in this car. It doesn't feel at all out of place away from the metropolis. It's maybe in town where perhaps the Fiesta has its biggest drawback, because although it's got power-assisted steering, it's not particularly light at low speeds, which is not what you come to expect from a small car like this. Expect the sporting brand from the Volkswagen Group to provide a sporting drive to really rival the Fiestas, and this car almost pulls it off too. The engine sounds like something from a hot hatch with a multi-valve thrum as the revs rise. The gear change is not as slick and precise as the Fiesta's is, it has a more mechanical action, but the car feels well planted on the road. It's just at speed where it's not quite as sorted as the Fiesta is, and it's a bit of a letdown there. In no way though is this a bad car. Sometimes it can scrabble away from rest if really pushed hard in the wet, and that constant engine note could prove something of a distraction, particularly on motorway journeys. Now, choosing between these two cars really did look very easy on paper. The Fiesta really is getting a bit long in the tooth now. It has a very cramped cabin. Well, you know what I'm saying, don't you? The Seat Ibiza is a very good car. It carries all the hallmarks of a VW Group product. It's fun to drive. It carries 4 in comfort. However, if you want a car that's fun to drive around twisty A and B roads, then perhaps the Fiesta will leave you with that bigger grin on your face at the end of the day. But logic has to prevail. We think the Seat Ibiza just about wins through because it does everything else that little bit better.
Amongst the delights waiting for us on next week's programme, Ken Gibson takes a look at another Swedish car that's hoping to take on the might of the BMW 3 Series. It's the Volvo S60, and this time it might just work.